So good day everyone, I am Annalie Alunar. So at this moment, I will discuss to you the situations of 1 and 2 principles under cognitive and metacognitive. So let's begin with the nature of the learning process principle. The nature of learning process is the learning of complex subject matter is most effective when it is intentional process of constructing meaning from information and experiences. So I want to emphasize the word intentional process. So it is actually happening in the classroom or inside the classroom that your learning there is mostly intentional. So why did I say so? Because your teacher's cognitive was with in mind already. So he or she has already the objectives of the lesson, what you've learning right after the class. So it has already the strategies approaches that he or she can use uh, in order for that and for those affected to be met. And he has already designed the assessment task to know whether you're learning the lesson or not. So it's intentional causes. Other term is constructing meaning. So educators will go inside the classroom not just to feed the students or the learners with information, but also to help students or learners to become constructivist. Yes, to become constructivist. So they will become creators of knowledge and creators of meaning. But because but of course, with the help of or with the guidance of integration of effective strategies in teaching. So that is the nature of learning. Okay, so successful learners are, so you could assess your students or learners, or you could assess yourself whether you are a successful learner or not. So first we have active. When can you say that your student is active? When they take part in teaching learning process. So during discussion, they listen attentively, jot down notes. During recitation, they share their answers, sharing of ideas, thoughts in certain topics. So during activities, there are collaboration with teachers, also with the students. So that is student described as active. Second successful learner is goal oriented. So they set goals for themselves right inside the classroom because they has a certain goal to be met. So you wanted to become a professional, you wanted to become a teacher, an engineer, a doctor, and so on and so forth. So they set their goals to their long-term goal, but it must have also the ability to set their certain goals to their significance of every lesson that you share. So, successful learners are always goal-oriented. So, and the next, we have self-regulating. They have the ability to monitor their progress, to monitor and assess their learning strategies, when it is effective or not, and they have the ability to remain focused learning so they not be distracted with environmental factors and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's proceed to the principle 2, goals of the learning process principle. The successful learner, over time with the support and instructional guidance, can meaningful, coherent representations of knowledge. As a future teacher or as a future educators, we need to help our students to start their own learning goals. Yes, to start their own learning goals. So it is not only the teachers who sets learning goal, but also the students or the learners. And the learners set their learning goals, then they become more committed in attaining the learning goals. Yes. So there are short-term goal and long-term goal. So first, we must have our student to link in their short-term goal to their long-term goal, to realize that this short-term goal they have would lead to attainment to their long-term goal. So we have instructions, guidance, and so on. So goals are about improving students' learning and achievement and building students' capacity to learn. So first, we have developing personal learning goals. So students need to understand that the process of setting learning goals is a key part of their learning. Yes, also learning goals can help students close the gap uh, between what they have achieved and what they want to achieve in the future. So it is very important that students develop a sense of personal ownership of their learning goals. A combination of discussion, sharing, and writing can help students to develop a sense of commitment, a range of goal development skills, and also strategies. Okay, so the next we have strategies to achieve personal learning goals. So it should be considered while students develop their goals and throughout the monitoring process. So the plan and work on these strategies, students need help to develop clear and simple strategies and draw on a range of approaches. Yes, range of approaches. Then the strategy should uh, reflect and build on student learning styles, their capacity for independent learning, their personal characteristics, and the specific learning goal they set. Third situation under principle 2 is that monitoring personal learning goals. Okay, so monitoring requires reflection, and then reflection leads to conclusion about the extent of success or improvement, and allows for explanation for lack of improvement. So it also provides a basis for establishing future goals, no, and a sense of achievement. So when teachers help students reflect on and monitor their progress towards achieving their learning goals, they are asking students to think about their learning. So students also need to build an informed and insightful understanding of their own behavior and learning. Okay, so that was the 1 and 2 principle all about. So Miss Shania Ibonya will explain to you the next principle 3 and 4, and the other members will explain the other principles.
Good morning, each and everyone. I am Shania Ebonya, and I am going to report about the LCP principles number 3 and number 4. The LCP principle number 3 is construction of knowledge. The successful learner can link new information with existing knowledge in meaningful ways. Knowledge construction happens when students do more than they reproduce what they have learned. So, they go beyond knowledge reproduction to generate their ideas and understandings that are new to them. So it means students apply knowledge they constructed in a different way or in a different context, which helps them to deepen their understanding and to connect two or more ideas. And these activities requires knowledge and ask students to interpret, analyze, synthesize, and evaluate information or ideas. Knowledge construction is a collaborative process which aims to produce new understanding or knowledge which exceeds something that anyone alone could not achieve. It is also essential that knowledge construction is based on each other's thoughts and ideas. Students learn by connecting the new knowledge or the knowledge they had learned to the knowledge what they already knew. So it means um, the knowledge they had learned and the knowledge they already knew, they collaborate it, which we can call it's a collaborative process which aims to produce new understanding or to deepen their understanding and their knowledge. For example, students might read a description of historical period and they infer why people who lived then behaved the way they did. So for example, students are confused on what they had read about the historical period. So they derive or they search, they infer the reason behind why people behave the way they did now. So they interpret, they analyze, they synthesize or they evaluate the information or ideas they had learned by reading the historical period. If students are asked to look up information and then write a paper that simply describes what they found or what they had learned, students who are reproducing knowledge but are not constructing knowledge. It is because constructing knowledge helps them to connect their ideas and the idea of what they had learned. So, if the students are reproducing knowledge, what they have found in the internet, they are not constructing the knowledge. They are just reproducing the knowledge. Strategic thinking. The successful learner can create and use a repertoire of thinking and reasoning strategies to achieve complex learning goals. They understand and can use a variety of strategies to help them reach the learning and the performance goals. Strategic thinking is an interpersonal skill that can benefit you in any of your life roles. As what Servilia said, that strategic thinker does not give up easily, even in a hard situation. Strategic thinker approach their learning to continue their goals. So for example, your family are having a financial problem. So as a student, you want to continue your studies because you have to achieve your goal. You want to aim your goals and to reach your dreams in the future. So you as a strategic thinker, you will think that work can help you to provide or to pay your tuition in school or to survive in a financial situation. So you didn't give up easily, you find work and then so you overcome those problems and survive by using your strategic thinking. Another example for strategic thinking is that for example, you have your classmates that didn't catch up easily. So you as a strategic thinker, you help him in the lessons even though he's learning slowly, but as time goes by, he can understand by using your help.
Principle number 5, thinking about thinking. So thinking about thinking is a higher order strategies for selecting and monitoring mental operations and facilitate creative and critical thinking. So in order to be a effective learners, student must not only use their memory and the language skills they have internalized, they must also develop their own way of learning. So yung students is hindi lang siya napag-focus dun sa memory of and the language na mas ginagamit natin. So, nag-focus din ito sa paano natin maa-apply yung knowledge ay learning sa sarili mismo natin. Because Students who learn to learn gain control of their learning process and gradually develop the ability to master their mental processes more effectively. So a student's inner language is what enables him or her to develop the high level cognitive skills associated with metacognition. So I have three examples or situations here to become a successful learner. First is a student learn about what things help him or her to remember facts, names, and events. So, as a student, we have a strategist thinking skill. May iba-iba tayo mga strategic. Paano natin mariremember yung kailan tayo mag-e-exam, kailan yung due date ng assignment natin. Meron tayong iba't ibang mga strategic thinking skills. Dito mas na-internalize yung mga pag-iisip natin na mag-focus. Meron din tayo na dito rin papasok yung mga time management. Diba alam naman natin marami tayong mga activities ngayon. So dito natin ma-apply na kailangan natin i-time management yung mga oras natin. So second is a student learn about his or her own style of learning. So lahat tayo at tayong mga estudyante is may iba't ibang style of learning. For example is style of learning mo is kailangan mo before the examination date, may 5 days ka na kailangan mag-aral or kailangan mag-review sa mga previous lessons niyo or previous topics. So, yun yung style of learning mo is kailangan magbasa ng magbasa para mas pagdating ng examination date is meron kang may sasagot. So the third situation is, or example is, students learn about which strategies are most effective for solving problems. So yun, lahat tayo, alam naman na, lahat tayo may iba't ibang strategies thinking skills. So, merong mas nakakalamang na strategic thinking skills natin na mas madali nating nare-resolve yung mga problema. For example, may mindset tayo na positive, may strategic thinking tayo na about positive lang. Yung kailangan is dito natin mas nabubuo yung mas napag-iisip talaga ng maayos yung strategies natin para mas madali natong ma-resolve yung problema. Kasi meron times na gumagamit din tayo ng practical thinking skills na hindi lang sa matututo tayo, but rather using this practical thinking skill, it apply knowledge to guide us for some action or to solve a problem. Because students who become increasingly autonomous in their learning as they become aware of their strengths and weaknesses. Dito natin malalaman kung saan tayo mas malakas o mahina sa pagre-resolve ng mga problema. So, and understand that being successful depends on the effort they make and the strategies that they implement. Yan po. Thank you.
Teachers are educational models that reconnect learners with others and with learning. Model teachers and we, as a future educators, must habitual focus on promoting student motivation and learning development of learners in a classroom management. In continuing LCP's in 14 principles under cognitive and metacognitive factors on its number 6 principles, hi, I'm Ebony Ligada and I will advocate about context learning.
In your dictionary, learning context is defined as the situation in which something is learned or understood, a situation that can impact how something is learned or what is taught. As a future teacher, when identifying the ways on how to apply this kind of principle, which is context learning, we must establish learners should influence by environmental factors, including culture, technology, and instructional practices. Let me show you on how content learning will apply using these three methods. Every classroom is diverse and unique in its own way. Teachers know that learners learn in different ways, whether by the name of learning styles, cognitive styles, psychological type, or multiple intelligence. According to igglobal.com, cultural context define its related to the society where individuals are raised and it how culture affects behavior. If a teacher does not consider the culture of its learner, teachers' insensitivity to other cultures can lead to a variety of things that can give negatively impact on students' learning. Students may become offended, therefore they will show off learning, reluctant to participate, dislike the teacher, and become disruptive in class, which affect only not only on theirs but others' learning. For example, teacher Anna had a bad impression of one of her students because on its own culture, she doesn't show that she care or never paying attention to that one student. So what will happen to that student? Being aware is everything. So as a future educator, we must be a cultural aware to our learners' differences. We must nurture learners' individuals' environment. Let must celebrate the tradition, instructor toward student, respect the belief and religion. It will help not only in a learning classroom but also helps to collapse the cultural barriers, build cultural bridges, and learn how to love and appreciate the differences and uniqueness of every culture's beliefs. According to seonline.america.com, technology provides students with easy to access information, accelerated learning, and fun opportunities to practice what they learn. It enables students to explore new subjects and deepen their understanding of difficult concepts. For example, if the students have a lack experience using technology, it will affect and lower socio-economic status and tending to cause harm to social and economic capital acquisition. Teachers and us as a future educators must provide technologies and instructional practices that appropriate that will fit for learners level, more importantly in knowledge, cognitive abilities in their learning and their thinking strategies. In fact, that technology provides students with easy to access information, accelerated learning, and fun opportunities to practice what they learn. It enables to help our learners to explore new subjects and deepen their understanding of difficult concepts. Instructional practices are the means by which students achieve learning outcomes. For example, done well, it can disarm some of the more intimidating parts of academia while also shortening the distance between the student and understanding. As a future educator, we must choose instructional practices that align with learning outcomes. I think that the learner-centered psychological principles focus on psychological aspects of learners, help them to be educated as possible, and for the development of learners and us to become a effective educator in the future. I think that the context learning with the quote, learning does not occur in a vacuum, means learning does not take in one place but in every perceived characteristics learning in our life.
Good day everyone, I am Muammar Pihari, BPL3. I'm your reporter for today. My topic is motivational and emotional in influence of learning. What are the things or who are the person that pushes you to study? What is motivation? An internal state or condition sometimes described as a need, desire, or want that serve to active behavior and give it direction. Motivation importance lies directing activities toward to achievements of a goal, controlling and directing human behavior, including spiritual and moral values in the mind of the young and giving satisfaction and happiness to the individual. Student motivation has to do with student desire to participate in the learning process. It also concerns the reason or goals that underline their in involvement in academic activities. Let's proceed to situation. Situation number one, comforting other can make them more motivate. We are a human being who can do a lot of mistake. Also, a human being need to have someone in his side able to feel the love of your someone. Make your smile as stem more power. Example, as a student, there are many obstacles we meet, cry, struggle, and comfort. Sharing your problem can lessen your struggle. Situation number two. Situation number two is uncertain can make also make ourselves more motivated. We all know that unpredictable in your life can search our true self. It means suffering have a more change. We are able to research yourself, uh, to research yourself. Example, in sport game, we know before that game start. We know the game start. The score is the 0.0, right? The players need to make effort, so that they can win in their opponent. Uh, that's why many people wanted to sport. Mm, do not don't for not for just winning, also for experience. Situation number three, even just the slightest significance can also make ourselves be proud. This difference, it can make ourselves too motivated. That it's why humans are the most unique created by God in the world. Example, in our family, we have different personality. we are able to soar past other for that significance. We can use it to motivate ourselves. That's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I'm Anthony Tabada, Bachelor of Physical Education 3rd year. The given topic to me is intrinsic motivation to learn. So, ano nga ba ang intrinsic? Intrinsic means belonging to natural, essential, or similar meaning to inherent, innate, or inborn. So, natural lang siya. Intrinsic motivation or natural motivation is defined as doing something or activity for inherent satisfaction rather than separable consequences. So, when a person is intrinsically motivated, they do or move for fun or challenges rather than threatening or pressure. Something like, pag di mo to gawin, bagsak ka. So, intrinsic motivation to learn, the learner's creativity, higher order thinking, and natural curiosity all contributed to motivational to learn. Intrinsic motivation is stimulated by tasks, optimal novelty, and difficulty relevant to personal interest and providing for personal choices and control. Curiosity, flexible and insightful thinking, and creativity are major indicators of the learner's intrinsic motivation to learn, which is large part of function of meeting basic needs to be competent and exercises personal control. Meaning, kung gagawa ka doon ng intrinsic motivation, is dapat nandun ang basic needs to make it function. So, ano nga ba yung basic needs? Ulit, yung sinabi ko kanina, curiosity, flexible, insightful thinking, and creativity. Intrinsic motivation is facilitated on tasks that learners perceive as interesting and personally relevant and meaningful. So, dapat pag gagawa ka doon ng intrinsic motivation, dapat nakikita ng mga estudyante na interesting ito, relevant, at meaningful. Appropriate and complexity and difficulty to the learner's abilities. So, dapat nakakayang gawin ng estudyante. So, dapat alam mong kaya nila to at malalaman nila na kaya din nila. In which they believe they can succeed. Intrinsic motivation is also facilitated on tasks that are comparable to real-world situation and meets needs for choices and control. So, dapat daw nangyayari din to sa real-world situation. Yung ginagawa mong task or binibigay mong task sa mga estudyante. Educators can encourage and support learners' naturally curiosity and motivation to learn by attending to individual differences in learners' perception of optimal novelty and difficulty, relevance, and personal choice of control. So, sinasabi dito na educators daw, kaya nilang i-support yung estudyante nila sa intrinsic motivation by approaching them individually and know the differences of their students, and kung pwede, bibigyan ng different tasks in order to para ma-exert yung interest ng isang estudyante para mag-interesado siya at gawin niya yun for fun or for challenges. At yun na nga. So, for the next, based on intrinsic motivation to learn, here are some situation. So, situation 1, a teacher gave a task to make something out of clay based on their choices. So, ginawa nila out of their interest. So, situation 2 is a student who enjoy answering his homework because it has fun and games like tasks which he can use his mind, critical thinking, creativity, and logic. Situation number 3 is A student who loved to dance was given a chance to perform and show his dancing skills to the people. So that's all. Let's proceed to the next reporter. Bye.
Good day everyone. My name is Chermay Icaballes, Bachelor of Physical Education, and to the topic to assign to me is effect of motivation on effort. And what is effect of motivation on effort? Effects of motivation on effort. Acquisition of complex knowledge and skills requires extended learner effort and guided practice. Without learners' motivation to learn, the willingness to exert this effort is unlikely without coercion. To have an effective complex knowledge, the learners should have the willingness to be motivated without motivation, and the willingness to exert effort to learn, to gain knowledge without being forced or treated. Learners' effort guide practice is needed to obtain certain knowledge. Effort is another major indicator of motivation to learn. The acquisition of complex knowledge and skills demands the investment of considerable learner energy and strategic effort along with percentage over time. Effort is another factor for motivation. It is a major indicator to learn, to have a complex knowledge and desired skill. It demands effort and perseverance in doing such things. Educators need to be concerned with facilitating motivation by strategy that enhance learner effort and commitment to learning and to achieving high standards of comprehension and understanding. And as an educator, it really need to facilitate a motivation by having initiative to enhance the knowledge of the learners and achieving the goal standards to properly comprehend and understand. Effective strategies include purposeful learning activities guided by practices that enhance positive emotions and intrinsic motivation to learn, and methods that increase learners' perfection that a task is interesting and personally relevant. To have an effective strategies, it also requires a positive emotion to make it all possible and to include any activities and practices that is relevant and personally interesting, so it will be possible through the motivation to learn. Thank you and God bless.
Good morning to each and everyone. My name is Dayanjan Patwal, and my topic is all about developmental influences on learning. As a child develops, he will experience different prospects as well as limitations in his learning. When teaching, we need to take into account different forms of development, including physical, cognitive, and social, in order to ensure our students learn as much as possible. Some of the general models of development are as follows. Piaget's theory of cognitive development claims that children are naturally curious and use exploration to make sense of the world around them. They discover and adapt to the world through exploration what is unfamiliar to them. Piaget believed that children's cognitive development was enriched as a result of this exploration and discovery, and this enrichment brings them from lower to higher mental structures. Piaget Piaget's theory involves 4 stages of development: sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete operations, and formal operations. Elementary school teachers would see the final 3 stages unfold before them in the classroom. As such, it is important that the goings-on during each stage is well understood. Teachers can use this theory to better understand their students' development. This knowledge will help them know what to expect in terms of the student's thinking process, depending on their age and or developmental level. And for Vygotsky's theory is a bit different from Piaget's. Vygotsky theory of socio-cognitive development states that children are essentially beginners or trainees who benefit through relationships with experienced mentors. He believed that in order for students to develop their cognitive abilities, they need to have social guidance. A teacher applying this theory would understand that her students' cognitive development was based on their steady gaining of skills and knowledge, both of which are acquired through social interaction with a more practical mentor, in this case the teacher. The main difference between Piaget's and Vygotsky theories is that Piaget's theory involved improvement of operations through exploration and discovery that could be used to solve problems. For Vygotsky, on the other hand, theorized that children's cognitive development depended on the improvement of task-specific skills and knowledge, which improve based on guided participation. With regards to Vygotsky, if a teacher chooses to take this route, her role will be to decide on problems for students to solve with are culturally valued. She should make sure to ask students questions which will force them to think deeper and use what they already know to further their knowledge. Some strategies which could be implemented are cooperative learning and scaffolding within the zone of proximal development. And that's for the general models of development. And the other explanation of the developmental influences on learning. As individuals develop, there are different opportunities and constraints for learning. Learning is most effective when differential development within and across physical, intellectual, emotional, and social domains is taken into account. Individuals learn best when materials is appropriate to their developmental level and is presented in an enjoyable and interesting way. Because individual development varies across intellectual, social, emotional, and physical domains, achieved in different instructional domains may also vary. Overemphasis on one type of developmental readiness, such as reading readiness, for example, may preclude learners from demonstrating that they are more capable in other areas of performance. The cognitive, emotional, and social development of individual learners and how they interpret life experiences are affected by prior schooling, home, culture, and community factors. Early and continuing parental involvement in schooling and the quality of language interactions and Two-way communications between adults and children can influence these developmental areas. Awareness and understanding of developmental differences among children with and without emotional, physical, or intellectual disabilities can facilitate the creation of optimal learning contexts. That's all. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. Today, I am going to report or to give you a 3 situation in social influences on learning. Social influences on learning. It is a learning influenced by social interaction, interpersonal relations, and also the communications with others. Based on my research, social influences on learning, it is a effective method or investigating the reality and gaining insight and understanding. From encouraging family, it is a clear expectation for behavior, and for the educators, take responsibility to range the influence of students' learning and motivation so that the students can learn more or to have knowledge that you give to them. By helping to develop characters of individuals that can improve our communities and institution. For the communities and institution, we need to help the people or the children who are not yet on school or not yung mga batang hindi pa nakapag-aral. So, we need to help them para makapag-aral na at para to gain their knowledge. By loving each other, it is a capacity for unity. Unity for us, service, and also the justice to develop. Learn to have a good manner, yes, so that we can have more easily to understood and accept the process of a deeper knowledge. We need to have a good manner to each and everyone so that hindi tayo bigyan ng bad or di tayo magiging bad influencers to them. Kasi halimbawa sa mga bata, di ba pag ano yung nakikita nila sa mas nakakatanda, especially for their parents, also for their relatives and family. So, di ba kung ano yung nakikita nila, kung tama ba yun o hindi. Kaya nga, pag may mga bata tayo or so, as a student, we need to have a good manner para naman yung mga nasa baba natin or para lahat tayo in one class is nagka-unite para naman walang magiging or walang maging yung parang tinatawanan. Yeah. Dapat nag-iisa tayo para naman lahat tayo makapagtapos or para hindi tayo ma-discriminate ng ibang tao or ibang estudyante. Also, for the children can learn many things in play and social activity. Also, for the children who are in a low grade, like grade 1, 2, 3, yung mga ganyang mga bata, dapat bigyan sila ng pansin para naman magain yung knowledge nila and also to help them to know what is the right thing to do kasi tayo yung mas tatanda sa kanila. So dapat we have to give them or to boost or to gain their knowledge. Dapat tulungan natin sila na magiging responsible pagkalaki nila para na.
Good morning, everyone. I am Jonalyn V. Iwayan, Bachelor of Physical Education, third-year college student. So, I am the reporter of individual differences in learning. Learners have different strategies, approaches, and capabilities for learning that are a function of prior experience and heredity. Have a different strategies, different approaches, and different capabilities and learning. So bawat naman, 'di ba? Bawat estudyante or bawat mag-aaral ay may iba't ibang estratehiya kung paano nila paano nila pag-aralan yung mga ganyang mga bagay. So may iba't ibang din ang mga approaches and capabilities in learning. So yung iba naman, halimbawa magaling ka sa academic, or magaling ka sa academic dahil you have a prior knowledge and you have a prior experience. Kaya alam mo kung paano gawin yan. It's because you have a prior knowledge or a prior experience. And also the heredity. So when we say heredity, bali namamana natin ba, kumbaga namamana. Halimbawa namamana mo sa isang pamilya or sa iyong relatives, 'di ba? Halimbawa magaling ang ang pamilya mo in academic or sa math subject. So there is a possibility na mamamana mo din 'yun, 'di ba? So next, individuals are born with and develop their own capabilities and talents. So yeah, individuals are born with differences and develop their own capabilities. So naman, every individual is habang tumatanda, 'di ba tayo, mas lalong nade-develop or nade-discover natin kung yung yung capable or yung kakayahan natin na gawin yung isang bagay, and also talent. Halimbawa, nung bata ka pa, hindi ka marunong sumayaw ba or kumanta. So habang tumatanda ka is nade-develop mo yung talents mo or nade-discover mo ng ngayon marunong ka na palang kumanta or sumayaw. So in addition, through learning and social acculturation, they have acquired their own preferences for how they like to learn and the pace at which they learn. So So through learning and social acculturation. So when we say acculturation is a process of social, psychological, and cultural change that stems from the balancing of two cultures while adapting to the prevailing culture of the society. So acculturation is the process of being adapted to a new culture. Adapting or changing, kumbaga. So the learners or yung mga mag-aaral, nakakuha sila ng kanilang they have their own preferences for how they like to learn, kung meron silang kanilang sariling mga kagustuhan para sa kung paano nila nais matututo, di ba? However, these preferences are not always useful in helping learners reach their learning goals. Educators need to help examine their learning preferences and expand or modify them if necessary. So yeah, educators or teachers, or as educators or as teachers, you need to help your students to kung kinakailangan i-examine or suriin pa ang kanilang mga nalalaman or natutunan, o palawakin pa ang kanilang mga alam sa kanilang sarili. The interaction between learner differences and curricular and environmental conditions is another key factor affecting learning outcomes. So, the interaction between the differences of the learners and the curricular conditions and the environmental conditions can as a key factor that can affect the learning outcomes. Environment conditions, so sa isang naman, 'di ba, paaralan or sa school is hindi naman maiiwasan sa isang environment na merong discrimination, 'di ba? Discrimination of their of the differences of the learners, like their culture, their gender, and their beliefs, religion, and etc. So hindi naman talaga nakakaapekto ito sa mga mag-aaral, 'di ba? Yung discrimination ito yung key factor that can affect their learning outcomes, or kalalabasan ng kanilang pag-aaral. So, educators need to be sensitive to individual differences in general. So, as a educators or as a teacher, so you need to be sensitive with the differences of your learners, with their whatever their culture is, their religion, their beliefs, gender, and etc. So you need to be sensitive in that and to accept or respect their differences as a teacher.
So, good day everyone. Today, let's move on the next principle, which is learning and diversity. Learning and diversity refers to the infinite variety of life, experiences, and attributes a child brings to their formal learning at school. All students with diverse learning needs have a right to access a full and engaging education on the same basis as their peers. And also, we value a collaborative approach to student learning and seek effective ways to meet the need of all learners so that every student can experience success. So, we have three situations. First, learning diversity in the classroom. So, learning diversity in the classroom refers to infinite variety of life experiences and attributes a child brings to their formal learning at school. All students with diverse learning needs have a right to access a full and engaging education on the same basis as their peers. So, example, this includes many different factors: race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, ability, age, religious belief, or political conventions. All these factors work together to inform how students and teachers and everyone else encounter the world. So, as a future educator, teaching students to develop themselves to learn facts and learn to use them will be essential so that they can develop the lifelong learning skills they are likely need as part of the workforce of the future. The role of teacher as facilitator is well established in many developed education systems. So next situation, diversity in education. Diversity in education, teaching diversity exposes students to various cultural and social groups, preparing students to become better citizens in their communities. These culturally responsive teaching strategies will help you to promote diversity in the classroom. So, example, this includes race, socio-economic status, gender, ethnicity, religious beliefs, and etc. In order to ensure that each student in the classroom is gaining the maximum benefit, teachers have to understand and treat each student as a unique individual. So, as a future educator, give students a sense of controls and also use positive competition for them, and I will teach them and guide them how to be successful student in life. So the third is diversity issues in school. So the diversity issue in school, race, it is important to recognize the impact skin color has had on the broader American culture and how it can affect student perception of each other and themselves. So we have ethnicity, religion, language, economics, and LGBTQ. Example of this situation. One way that school can promote an acceptance of cultural diversity is by hosting festivals and thematic events. In less diverse school environment, teachers may need to help prepare students to explore cultures they have no experience with by incorporating lessons that teach students about other culture. So for me as a future educator, I help my students to have good habits and not do bad things in school because it is good for them, and then I teach them and guide them to achieve their dreams in life. So this learning and diversity is most effective when differences in learners' linguistic, cultural, and social backgrounds are considered. So that's all po. Thank you.
Hello everyone! Before I will start to my report, I just want to introduce myself. By the way, I'm Emily D. Vinagracia, BPAB 3. And now, we talk about standard and assessment. In education, the term standards-based refers to system of instruction, assessment, grading, and academic reporting that are based on students demonstrating and understanding or mastery of the knowledge and skills they are expected to learn as they progress through their education. For example, ganito, binigyan tayo ng report sa bawat isa. Paano ba natin i-report ng mga ayos? Di ba kailangan natin i-master muna, pag-aralan ng mabuti, kung paano natin i-demonstrate at may papakita ng maayos sa mga kaklase or sa ating teacher. And now, in an educational setting, standard-based assessment is assessment that relies on evaluation of students, understood with respect to agree upon standards, also known as outcomes. That standard set the criteria for successful demonstration of the understanding of the concept or skills. Yun nga, before ka mag-report, kailangan mo i-master muna or i-demonstrate. Para ang kakalabasan ng iyong reporting, yung outcomes niya is magiging maganda. Para ang criteria or yung grading system na malabas is good feedback para sa reporting. And now, they have an example of summative assessment. First is pre-assessment, and the second formative, and the third is summative. Pre-assessment. What do you know? They have an example. Screening, pre-test, diagnostic, KWL, inventories, observation, anticipation guide, concept map, and questioning, and others. Yung ibig sabihin ng pre-assessment is, for example, as a teacher, magtatalk ka ng isang topic. After mo mag-lesson ng isang topic is, pwede mo agad magbigay or pwede mo agad ipapakwiz sa iyong mga estudyante. Magbigay ka agad ng activity para dito mo malaman kung ang mga estudyante mo ba nakikinig ba sa iyo o may nalalaman. And now, formative. Formative is, what are you learning? They have an example. Checking for, understanding, portfolio, journal, quiz, observation, anecdotal notes, except slips, data from, and guided practice. Your formative na naman is, magle-lesson ka ng isa or one lesson. Di ba sa pre-test is, after mo mag-lesson is, pwede ka magbigay agad ng quiz or activity. Ang sa formative naman, ang kakaibahan sa formative is everyday ka magle-lesson or mayroon kang topic sa kanila, pwede ka rin everyday ka rin magpa-quiz sa kanila para mas better na ma-enhance or ma-develop yung mga natutunan nila. And now the third is summative. What have you learned? They have an example: evaluation, project, test and exam, demonstration, portfolio review, final performance, compositions, and others. Yun nga, kanina diba yung pre-test, pre-assessment is after mag-lesson, pwede ka magbigay ng quiz. Review ka lang. Ang sa formative na naman is after mo mag-quiz, after mo mag-lesson, pwede ka rin magbigay ng quiz every day. And sa kakaibahan sa summative na tinatawag, halimbawa mag-one chapter ka in 1 week. Before mag-end ang week, kailangan magbigay ka ng quiz or activity sa kanila. Yun nga, for example, sa elementary, yung grading system nila, 'di ba? From first grading, second grading, third grading, ang fourth grading. Yun yung sa elementary. And for example na naman, ang sa college, ganito sa atin, yung grading system natin is, for example, prelim, midterm, and final. Yun yung example ng summative. Pag sum, when we say sum, is yung kabuuan, yung whole. And now, and that's all my report, and I hope you'll understand to my report, and that's all. Thank you.